Here.
He's here. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Barrett.
Here.
Okay, Mayor Kajewski.
Here.
Councilmember Gellert.
Here.
Councilmember Seeley.
Here.
Councilmember Siegel.
Present.
All hands on deck.
Okay. In our package is the minutes from August 20, our regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Who moved?
Is there support?
I second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Also, we have different boards, committees, and commission minutes. We're accepting them in the public domain. I need a motion to accept.
So moved.
Is there support?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The next item is public comment on agenda items. We have public comment on agenda items. If not, we're going,
I'd like to make a comment. Harry Kurtz,
okay,
is it okay?
yes.
Thank you. I might have missed it. I didn't see where you discussed approving the minutes for the August meeting.
Oh, that was just about 5 minutes ago.
Oh, well, I came on and I didn't hear it, but I'll comment anyways. Unless they made a correction, it had to do with comments that were made at that meeting by a longtime former council member and financial chair who's since left the council, Bruce Bisbal. Did they bring up the fact that his comments weren't recorded?
I don't think that was brought to our attention.
Well, it appears that they were completely left out, and I thought they were very relevant comments and clarifications on the retiree healthcare cuts, and they were just completely omitted. Seemed like all the other ones were caught, and so I was hoping that they would.
I actually, this is Sandra Cabatayo. I brought it up and I asked them to be amended, and they told me that the minutes were going to be amended.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Are these the August minutes or were these the?
August 20th.
August minutes?
Okay, I don't have them in front of me right now, but I have the notes. So I'm sure I remember Mr. Bisbal being there. So obviously he should have been in the minutes.
Yeah, it might be a typo.
Actually, if I may, Mr. Bisball's comments were in the minutes. It just wasn't under the public comment section, I don't believe.
Oh, the draft minutes that I saw online on the city website, I could not find any reference to Mr. Bisball's comments.
Well, they should have been there, and I will double check on that and make sure that they're
Thank
there.
you.
Because I
Thank you.
had put, I remember dictating them.
Oh, great. Well, he
You know.
said some significant things, and I think that would be great. I did have one other quick question. Well, I'll pass. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Thank you very much for clarifying.
Okay, thank you, Harry. Any other public comment on agenda items? If not, we have a committee appointment to the Beautification Committee. Ellen Crease would like to be appointed to the Beautification Committee. Her resume is included in your council packet. I would like to include her on the Beautification Committee. Will anybody make the motion?
So moved.
Okay, and second?
I second it.
Sandra second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Our next item is our reports by chairpersons. I understand Rhonda has a family emergency and can't be here, but we have a hard copy of the bills. As council, I'll give a few minutes for council to go through them. The wire transfers, according to Rhonda, were all normal wire transfers. Primarily for the bond. Our marina bond was one of the major ones. And again, the distribution to the different schools, Macomb County, South Lake schools, Wayne County as well. So please take a look at the check register run. And if everything is in order, I need a motion to approve this check register run.
I make a motion to approve.
Okay,
I'll
Sandra
second.
made the motion.
Second.
Okay, Doug seconded it. Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
No, hold on a second. It wasn't Doug that seconded it. I didn't second it.
Oh, I thought I heard your voice.
Seeley, second.
Okay, Matt made the, okay. Sorry, Doug.
Well, before we go forward, Doug, was there something with the check run that you were concerned about?
Nope.
Okay,
I just didn't second it.
okay.
That was my fault, Doug. I thought I heard your voice. All right, the next item is the chairperson's report for finance. Sandra?
As all of you are aware, we've been conducting a search for a finance officer and treasurer for the past few weeks, and I'm pleased to introduce to you one of our candidates, Kathy Hall. Kathy Hall is a graduate of Wall College and has 28 years of experience in finance and accounting. She comes with an impressive knowledge of financial management and all things related to budget and policy. Is Kathy there? Kathy, I'll let you introduce yourself and tell the council a little bit about yourself and your past experience.
Thank you. Yes, hi everyone. This is Kathy Hall, as Sandra had pointed out. To give you a little bit of background on myself, as Sandra had mentioned, I'm a CPA licensed in the state of Michigan. I've worked in public accounting, providing over the past 20 plus years, providing accounting and auditing services to all levels of government, federal, state, and local, as well as providing those same services to nonprofits. I actually, on a personal note, I live in the city of Grosse Pointe Woods. I grew up in St. Clair Shores. I'm married to my husband, John, and we have a dog named Bubba's. And I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to interview for this position. And I look forward to next steps in the process. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
The next item is public safety chief.
Hey, I'm sorry, this is Doug. Everybody hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Ted, I called you a couple times. We weren't able to connect. But one of my questions was, and I brought this up at the finance committee last week when we were together. And it seemed like, you know, we had this meeting back in, what was it, March or April, that we did the retirees, and we said, you know, okay, we're going to do this to the retirees, and that's going to save us $2 million in this OPED. So the OPED went, or whatever the name of it is, it went from like 11 million to 9 million, right?
Well, Doug, the actuary didn't get commissioned to do the work. Our healthcare advisor, Mark Manquin, the CPA, had suggested that our liability, our actuarially accrued liability, would drop significantly. He's the one who mentioned the $2 million figure. But he said that the annual savings would be, I believe it was $138,000. But the actuarial liability, our actuary, Sandy Rodham, didn't actually make the calculation. So I don't know. That was a guess by Mark Manquin. That's what.
But there were some numbers thrown out, Ted, that said it went from 11 million down to 9 million.
Well, here's where we had.
Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no?
The liability was 11.2 million. We had 1.9 million in the bank as part of the pension plan. It's, it's combined. And so we isolated in the pension report. Our underfunding was 9 million. The Mark Manquin made an estimate saying that our liability, our actually required liability, it's called the ARC, the state of Michigan under Public Act 202 requires that we make an R calculation. Our calculation is $717,000. That's where that's coming from. But the actuarial liability, that can only be done by an actuary. I didn't say that number, Doug. I mean, if it's attributed.
Somebody said we went from 11 million down to 9 million. Yes or no? I don't know. Did anybody else hear that? I thought I heard that.
Well, the 9 million was the underfunding. I don't
Yeah,
think
it's
Mark made.
underfunding. It went from underfunding from 11 million
No.
to 9
We-
million.
Okay,
Yes or no?
okay. Well, Sandra is saying it was included
It
in Mark
was,
Makeone's
Yeah, I
report.
read it too, Doug, and it said that it did have a $2 million savings, but it didn't have the breakdown as far as I can remember.
He told me that he would have to commission a report by Sandy Rodham to actually come out with the true actuarial liability.
Okay, but there was like I don't know, unless I heard something different. Somebody said, okay, now that we're doing the retirees like this, it's going from 11 million down to 9 million.
But Doug, I don't know. I know the report indicated what our underfunding was, and we have just short of $2 million in the bank for retiree health care. The other 22 million is for the defined benefit pension plan participants, but it's all together in one trust, in one fiduciary trust report. So, and there's a note how much is the healthcare portion. So.
There's
I mean, Doug,
nobody
that's my-
else. There's nobody else on this Zoom thing. Remember anybody saying it went, oh, now that we're doing the retirees this way, it's going from 11 million to 9 million. No one ever heard that
Doug,
number?
I think a lot of people have verified that they remember hearing that. What's the point?
The point is, if then that we gave this thing back to them last meeting, like you talked about, Matt, so it went from 11 million down to 9 million, we gave them back something, right? Well, then it went, logically thinking, it didn't go from 11 to 9. Now we gave them back something, it had to go up.
Okay, so
So
let
10
me
million
address that.
or whatever. What's the number? What's the number?
Let me address that. So my understanding of it is when he made those estimates is that was after our $4,000 automatic contribution to the 11 employees that qualify for the health savings account, HSA. So out of the 37 retirees, we have 11 that qualify for HSA. And at $4,000 each, that's $44,000. And after that expense, we still net $138.
So Sandra, does that sound right to you?
Well, basically, my understanding
Turn your
also
volume.
is that the net savings included already the health savings account. It was just not made clear during that first meeting. That's
Understand?
my understanding.
And I understand that too, but it's just like, yeah,
So I
from the
say that we
beginning,
need to
it wasn't
verify
there.
that and take appropriate action to figure out exactly the number. But my understanding is that the savings were already included.
Yeah, if you look at the report he delivered to us in May, and he took quite a long time in his presentation, it basically details that the 138,000 projected savings is after we give the $4,000 per employee HSA contribution, which they automatically get at the beginning of every year. And in this case, because we made it effective July 1st, this coming January 1st, we're going to give them another 4,000. So they're actually getting an $8,000 HSA.
No, Matt, I'm not
within
worried about
5
that.
months.
I understand exactly what you're saying, but that by giving them back something, when we took all that away, we took everything away, right? And then now, and that
That was
ended
out
up
there,
with
but I don't know who said
with
it.
you know, a $2 million savings. But then we.
I think you're
we-
confusing,
we said-
you're confusing two issues. The first issue, go ahead, Sandra.
Yeah, I think, Doug, the problem is that there was a misunderstanding in the way that it was delivered. Those savings, the health savings account was always part of it. It was just not made clear.
Yolanda could
And
explain that if you were here.
So the savings were
Well,
already.
why didn't we
included in there.
make that clear then?
Nothing changed. The savings are
Nothing
still the
changed.
same because they were
So-
always included there. It was just not
Okay.
made clear
All right, well,
when
that's,
we announced it or when they
Okay,
announced it.
that's fine, that's fine. So then what you're saying is the $11 million that was this, you know, balance that we had going into it, that didn't change.
It did.
We still got $11 million balance.
No, we don't. Let me try and explain it.
You guys are like
No, no.
confusing me more than anything, man.
No, not at all. Let's walk through it. Okay? What the actuary does, Doug, is he takes all of the ages of all of the participants in the plan,
That should be able to
and they
explain.
basically project it out.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear what I have to say, or do you want to keep interrupting?
No. You know, you can tell me what you want to say, but what was said early on in that whole thing was we were at 11 million. When we took away all these things, we went down to 9 million. Ted, yes or no?
The math works if you want to hear.
Ted, yes or no?
So it's not a yes or no question. So I'm gonna try and lay it out for you. Let me. So if you take all of the ages of all of the people, and then you take basically mortality tables, and you project out the entire length of the plan till everybody who's part of it is deceased, our liability long-term as a city is $11 million. Well, if you have them paying 20% of the cost, okay, the same plan, and then you do the same actuarial projections over the life of the plan, there's a $2 million savings over time. Well, I mean, if you look at it from this standpoint, if it's let's just call it 140,000 a year, in 10 years, that's $1.4 million. So in 20 years, that would be what, $2.8 million? So to say that there's a $2 million savings isn't that aggressive, and they're projecting that the plan will basically be written out in less than 20 years.
Well, once again, I'm just saying the numbers I got from the people that were telling me, Ted, was it went from 11 million to 9 million. And then we gave these guys something back. So
Doug, that's
then
correct. I think the
did it go
misunderstanding.
from 9 million back up to 10 million after
Yeah,
we screwed the pooch?
No, Doug, I
No,
think
okay.
everything's correct. It went from 11 to 9 million. The only misunderstanding, I think, is that you're thinking that it went back up because we gave something back to the employees.
Yeah, right.
We didn't give anything back. It was already included in that estimate. It was factored in. It was already there. It was just not announced properly. When the announcement was made, it was assumed that the employees would know that that was going to be part of it, since we said that it was going to be the same as the current employees, and the current employees have the health savings account. So all we did was clarify that they would have the health savings account. It was always part of it.
Let me just tell you that you had a finance meeting the other day that you didn't show up to because I understand you were with your child in Hungary taking care of all that business. And when I brought this same question up, everyone was kind of like shaking their head saying, yeah, that kind of makes sense, but I don't know the answer to that question. And now, evidently, you got the answer to that question. I wish you were there the other day.
The other thing is,
Right.
Doug, that I would recommend is Mark Manquin has been more than generous with his time. And if we have an employee or a retiree that has any confusion about their benefit package, they should call Mark. And if anybody on council or a resident has got a question, he's the expert.
Matt, I don't care about that. That doesn't matter. I'm asking the question of this OPEB liability that everybody is so worried about that it doesn't matter anyways. Okay?
It does matter.
Doesn't matter anyways.
It does
No
matter.
one's called us out on it. No one
Yeah,
called us out.
we're right on the cusp.
And we're right on it. We're right on it. We're right on it. Great. No one's called us out on it. You know,
Yeah.
like, you know, not the people that are sitting there behind you or not the State Department, state either. They didn't call us out on it. We made that decision. You guys made that decision.
So
Not
let me
me.
ask you a question.
To call, you know,
Good
question.
Okay?
What's 40%?
$9 million.
I have no idea.
Okay? That's $3.6 million that we need to have in an account so that we are within compliance of the law. You know how
How
much
much do we have in that account right now? 1.9 million.
So
So even with the employees sharing,
the retirees sharing 20% of the cost, we're still short.
Matt, do you know,
1.7 million.
you're a businessman. You're a businessman. You do risk, right? What's the risk? Come on, tell me. What's the risk? Can't tell me, can you?
I do know
what the risk is. I just don't really understand
why you want the city's credit rating
and for us to go into a
What are you
situation
talking about
where
the credit
the state
rating?
can
It's a
take over our
AAA credit
plan, or
rating.
we
It's
get
a
in the meeting
AAA
to
credit
do.
rating, Matt.
Doug, we're getting off track here. I
No,
mean,
we ain't getting off
you and
track.
you and I traded phone calls about,
I asked a question and no one could answer it.
I've lost
Okay?
3%.
I asked a question. We had
I'm down to
$11 million
82.
liability. We screwed the pooch. We went down to a 9 million liability. And now we gave them back something and we're still at a $9 million liability. Or what did that change? That's
well,
all.
Doug,
That's
what
the
I'd
question I
recommend,
have.
let's get our actuary involved. Have a meeting of the finance committee and then authorize the actuary to make the calculation. Then we'll know for
Go right
sure.
ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay? All right. The next item, Chief Public Safety. Is our chief connected? Okay.
Chief, you're going to want to unmute yourself.
I got it. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes.
Good evening, members of council and mayor. I wanted to report that currently I have one officer off with COVID symptoms. He has tested negative for COVID and for the flu, but he is in quarantine until he's symptom free and he'll be retested at a later date. I'm hoping to get him back. I'm happy to report the Grosse Pointe Shores Public Safety has received the maximum grant amount of $5,000 from MMRMA for our in-car cameras, a system that will be installed when the new cars arrive. I do not have a build date yet on these two Explorers that are coming, but I hope to get them before the end of the year. I also want to report that we will be receiving our $9,000 federal grant from the Ballistic Vest Program, which is a federal program, which represents 50% of the cost of the vests. I have again received a donation of the other 50% from a resident who wishes to remain anonymous. So we're very grateful that we'll be able to upgrade the officer's ballistic vest soon. In July of this year, the Michigan State Police conducted an audit of our lean NCIC, which represents our compliance with the state of Michigan protocols. I want to report that we passed this audit with 100% approval. It's been a long and detailed process, and I'm grateful to my investigator and to my clerks for making this happen. The two PSO candidates that we are currently processing, candidate number one is already certified as a police officer and a paramedic, and he is currently in the Macomb Fire Academy. Candidate number two is a police officer and fire certified with the state of Michigan, and he is currently attending the basic EMS Academy in near St. Clair, Michigan. So that's all I have for tonight. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them for you.
Good report, Chief. Does any council member have any questions of the chief?
Yes, Chief, I have one question, please.
Sure.
The other day, there was some kind of a large scale police activity that was going on between Grosse Pointe Woods and the shores, right along Lockmore, Morningside, Sunnydale area. What was that all about?
During the day, there was a larceny from the CVS at Mack and Lockmore. The subject left the store, drove north on Mack Avenue to Vernier and east on Vernier to Morningside. And then he went south on Morningside down Hidden Lane, which is a dead end street. And so we joined Grosse Pointe Woods. Grosse Pointe Farms came down, and we arrested one subject right near the vehicle. They abandoned the vehicle at the foot of that dead end street, Harbor Court or Harbor Lane. And the other one went through the fence into the Willison Greenbrier sub, and we subsequently waited him out, and we went yard to yard, and we arrested him as well.
Good work, Chief. Good work.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I want to thank you for all of your hard work and all of the officers. But my question is, what is the protocol when an officer is symptomatic and they test negative? Do you wait 14 days or do you just wait till they're symptom free after the negative test?
I rely a lot on my instructor coordinator, my EMS instructor coordinator, who is a paramedic, and he monitors the protocols from CDC very carefully. This officer had been off on vacation, and when he was off home, he reported that he was symptomatic. So we immediately had him tested, which results came back 2 days later that he was negative. And we will keep him off until he is asymptomatic, and then we will retest him prior to him returning, which I believe is the current protocols with CDC.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
The next item is Public Works, our interim director, Mike Way. Mike, are you connected?
Yes, can you hear me?
I love the background.
Thanks. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I'd like to first take a moment to thank you for the opportunity to serve the residents of Grosse Pointe Shores as the Department of Public Works Director. It's been a goal of mine to be the director since I started here full-time 15 years ago. I've worked for the village since I was 15 years old as well, seasonally for the first 8 years. So to say that Grosse Pointe Shores is my second home or its residents my second family would be an understatement. With that being said, I'll move on to the details of the monthly report. It's taken some time, but I am learning where everything goes in Brett Smith's office. I've started transitioning both computer files and physical files. At the same time, I'm helping Nick Rudd, who will be taking over the water department, transition files to his user interface as well. With Fall Fest approaching, we've had a cold patch crew out filling potholes. Kevin Hartman, our master gardener, has started to remove the annual flowers in preparation for the planting of all the tulip bulbs. The pool and splash pad have been turned off and will be winterized soon. We do have some off-season repairs scheduled inside the filter house that will help with the smooth operation next year's season. Supplies for the damaged outlook at the park have been bought, and restoration on that will start very soon. Also soon, our mechanic Corey Reed will be prepping our leaf pickup fleet for the start of curbside leaf pickup, which begins on October 13th. A quick update for the sanitary sewer metering. We have received all the parts of the actual meters. I was able to purchase 5 slightly used instead of brand new ones. Slightly used meters from SEMSD for significant cost savings. I still need to purchase a field laptop used for uploading the information and a new air quality sensor that's used whenever an employee enters a confined space, meaning a sewer. These items will be purchased before the meters are installed. We also have scheduled training with HRC on how to use and install the meters. We do hope to have the meters installed before the winter weather begins. Finally, I would like to finish with a reminder that the Grosse Pointe Hazardous Waste Drop-Off Day is still scheduled on October 17th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. This year it is at Grosse Pointe Farms Pier Park. And that's pretty much all I have for you today. I am available to answer any questions at any time. Thank you.
Mike, that was a good report.
Hey, Mike, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
I got a call from somebody that lives on Lockmore and say that the watering on Lockmore, I guess on Sunnydale around that little corner there, is that lake water or is that Grosse Pointe Shores water?
That's city water.
That's city water?
I got an email,
Okay.
it might have been on the same day, about that system being used. It was supposed to have been shut off. I went immediately and shut it off, so it's off right now.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mike, I just have one question. I know last year we had a pipe freeze to the pool, and I know it's an expensive repair. Is there things that we can do to safeguard that? I mean, when we winterize the system?
So that break, we're not sure exactly. It wasn't exactly from frost or pipe water in the pipe being frozen. It was a shift in the ground, which I think happened because of oversaturation of the actual groundwater and the movement of the dirt on the ground.
Is that what it was?
Every year we have our pool winterized professionally by a subcontractor. And that when they cambered the pipes, they were dry. They weren't full of ice or water. So we think it was just a ground shift instead of a
Okay.
freezing issue. But like I scheduled the winterization again for this year, and it should be happening very soon.
That was more likely an old pipe that just because of the shifting of the soil, just finally just split. Okay.
I mean, I got pictures that I could show you of what exactly happened, and it definitely it broke in two
Okay.
different parts, and the whole section shifted. Yes.
All right. Good report, Mike. Anybody else have any questions?
Mike, I just wanted to say one thing. You know, what you did in using your resources to get those meters for the sewer as you did is really great thinking outside of the box. We were gonna purchase them brand new. They were around what, $6,000, $7,000 each?
Yes.
And you ended up getting them all for like $3,000?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you doing that. Those are the kind of things that really make a difference and add up over time. So I'm excited we have the meters, and I'm really excited that you were able to save the city that kind of money. And I wanted to say welcome aboard and thanks again.
Thank you. I would like to give credit to Brett Smith, my predecessor, who created the relationship with SEMSD. We do have a great relationship with them, and they approached us when they found out we were going to buy 5 meters. They said they have about 20 of them on the shelf that they weren't using anymore, and they were slightly used. So I actually went there with Jennifer from HRC, and we evaluated and picked out the 5 best ones. So they're going to be like new, and we definitely saved a lot of money.
Very good work, Mike. Very good work. All right, the next
Mike,
time on the agenda.
Hey, Mike, this is Doug. Hey, Mike, can I get your phone number,
Yeah, can I send it to you personally?
please?
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Mike. Our next item is Park Committee. Is the chairperson, Joe, online? If not, Matt, would you like to deliver the report?
Yeah, there've been no meetings of the park committee since the last time we met. We basically have revised the master plan for the park, and that, I believe, Tom, is that electronic version complete?
Yes, it is complete. I did send that out to everyone on the Parks Committee. I can also forward it to council and the mayor as well. That's the updated master plan to show the new location of the volleyball courts, along with an included walking path. And GPSIF wanted to look for some projects for future, including 2 pickleball courts as well. HRC should be providing us with an engineer's estimate here shortly.
So that being said, maybe prior to the October meeting, everybody could get that electronic file, and then we could put it on the agenda to update and approve the master plan for the park. Other than that, it was a good season. We did some things that were a little bit different this year because of the pandemic. We've got a couple of maintenance issues that are going to be being addressed this fall and winter, specifically the splash guard for the seawall and the outer seawall. And also, as you mentioned, putting together a proposal for Grosse Pointe Shores Improvement Foundation so that they can look at the possibility of putting in some pickleball courts. That's all I have.
All right, good report, Matt. Harbor Committee, is Dr. Schroeder present?
Yeah, I'm here tonight. Let me put myself on video. Here we go.
It's not the Lions game, is it? I saw
That was a Lions game, but not the loss that they had this last Sunday. Well, we had a Harbor Committee. We have them every 3 months. And our last committee meeting was just 1 week ago. And we have just 5 items to report to tonight from that meeting. The first of all is income. The expected income that we projected for this year was $200,000 of income from the harbor. And our harbor costs are about $210,000 each year. So we expected a loss, but the actual income was $250,000. So we actually came out $40,000 ahead this year, which is unusual, probably because of COVID. And our boat well occupancy was very full this year. We had 130 out of the 133 wells filled. We had 14 non-residents who pay the 1.5 times rate. And this year we had, for the first time, I believe, we had a waiting list of 10 residents that actually applied after the payment reservation deadline of February 15th. And it also applied after the open wells were offered to non-residents who were paid in March in 2020. And these are mostly the smaller wells, 20 to 25 foot wells.
Because this picture's not coming up.
What? You can't see me or no?
I have a good picture of you on my screen.
All right. Can you guys all hear me?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, great. As far as harbor repair plans, decking on 3 piers is going to be done and repaired over the winter time. And that cement wall that was injured with that 2019 boat collision that still hasn't been fixed yet is going to be fixed also, along with some other minor repairs. The fourth issue is we had some harbor committee attrition this year. One of our members moved away, left a vacancy that could be filled. So I asked Tom to post it on the city website for interested citizens to contact him. Our next meeting will be December 8th. We've actually had some interest from one of the citizens already, and he's very interested in joining the committee. The fifth agenda item was Dr. Michelle Ramsdell suggested having a jumper battery outside in the gatehouse that could be plugged in there for either the dead batteries for motor vehicles in the parking lot, or it could be used also for boats who don't have electrical
Great idea.
dump them. And then lastly, we just want to thank Dr. John Seago, the Council Harbor Committee Liaison, for his guidance over the last year. And that concludes my report. Any questions?
Thank you, Don. Any questions of Don?
I just would like to say that $40,000 net income on Harbor is exemplary. And my hat's off to Dr. Schroeder. That's outstanding news. And evidently the pricing increases that were given to non-residents under the direction of the committee and Dr. Seago have ended up paying off. So congratulations, everybody.
Good work. Good work. Tom, would you like to add anything? Okay. Next item is infrastructure report. Is Chairperson Sean on?
He's not.
If not, Matt, would you like to deliver the report?
Yeah, absolutely. The update that I received from HRC basically was a pretty comprehensive overview of what activity has been going on in the last month. The corrective action plan for our sewer, basically I got some bullet points I'm just going to read off, if that's okay. And they started to develop figures for city staff to investigate rear yard manholes that need to be addressed. They prepared for and met with city staff and SEM SD staff to review used meter equipment, evaluate equipment, and set up an inventory list for the city, review the SEM SD excess flow draft memo and cover letter the city sent to SEMSD. And that's significant because our flows have been reduced over the last 18 months to 2 years. And we've been paying the same overage for the last few years. And because of the metering we're doing and because of the corrective action that's taken place so far, we are asking them for a reduction in the penalty and maybe even some consideration on the prior ones because we feel like the overage was reduced so drastically. So we're waiting to hear their decision, but that's good news. We started to prepare a project management plan for the project kickoff as far as all of the work that we need to do that's going to be related to the bond. We had discussions with HRC staff and on related cap items and project management being done for future work through October. The next major milestone will be a kickoff meeting anticipated to occur in late September. The city will begin investigations of the pilot rear yard manholes, which these manholes are old, they're in people's backyards. Some of them are 6 to 10 inches underneath their lawns. They don't even know they're there. And every time we get a heavy rainfall, all of that water goes right down those manholes into this sewer system, and that creates part of the overage. So when we go through, there's 107 of these manholes, and we dig them up and we raise them up to grade and then put different caps on them so that they're watertight. That should eliminate a lot of overflow, which we're looking forward to. HRC will provide phase 1 through phase 3 of the meter training for the staff so that we can begin to make monthly assessments as to what our flows are based on, rainfall and the particular part of the season we're around. The next one is HRC is involved with the Lakeshore Drive seawall investigation with Grosse Pointe Farms in Wayne County, and here's the update on that. Work was recently completed as far as testing and engineering is concerned. TEC Corporation submitted a draft of the geotechnical findings and log sheets as far as soil borings are concerned, and those were submitted in mid-August. There was a meeting subsequently as a result of that, so now they can move forward, hopefully with a summary of the investigative work to be presented to the county, and then to come up with a plan as far as dealing with the replacement of the dilapidated seawall. HRC is in the process of preparing a proposal for professional engineering design services and an estimated project budget for the proposed scope of the entire seawall replacement to be submitted by the end of September. The action items that are left is HRC is going to provide an executive summary and proposed project budget. And then at that time, hopefully the next phase of this is that the county addresses funding on the federal level and on the state level through our state representatives and senators, and then Congresswoman Lawrence and Senator Stabenow and Senator Peters' office. So that's where we're at.
Thank you, Matt. Comprehensive report. Are there any questions?
When is your next meeting, Matt?
It appears that there will be a meeting on September 21st with HRC and all of the players that I mentioned earlier. I think it may be a Zoom meeting. I'm not positive, but if you'd like, I can see if that is going to be a public meeting or not. If it is, maybe we can post that, Tom, and let people join the Zoom meeting if they're interested in hearing about the progress that's being made on these two projects. Ultimately, when we get to the point where we finally identified the scope of work with our sewer project, we can take it to the next phase and explore bonding issues. And then when we could put that on the ballot for the residents to vote on the bond, and then ultimately proceed with, the bidding process for a general contractor, and then ultimately awarding the contract and moving forward with the project itself. And then as far as the seawall is concerned, because the primary responsibility falls on Wayne County, we're really at their mercy as far as timelines and financing are concerned. And that will also be addressed on the 21st.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
Hey,
Next
Matt,
item
we're
is-
not, certainly we're not committing to anything.
I'm sorry, Doug, go ahead.
I'm saying certainly we're not committing to anything for that seawall.
No, not at all. If I implied that, I apologize. It's solely rests in the responsibility of the county. And we ultimately are at their mercy, as I just mentioned, as far as the timeline is concerned and the financing is concerned, because it's their responsibility. All we can really do is keep making proposals and setting up meetings and putting this on the front burner and hopefully creating enough pressure that the county and the state react before we have some kind of a tragedy.
Are there any other questions? Dr., did that answer your question? Okay, the next item is the Grosse Pointe Shores Improvement Foundation. Is our president present? Dan Fleming? If not, our council liaison, Danielle, would you like to address this item?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I attended the meeting last night. It was a chilly, it was a chilly evening out in the pavilion. The foundation has decided that they're going to go forward with the ice skating plan. They had some inquiries about the Booth Fest. And I basically told them, due to the email that we received at the first half of the month, that everything is going to be canceled, all events for the remainder of 2020. So they're still trying to come up with something for some kind of fundraiser this year. Heidi's working on something. Just doesn't know if anybody is going to, they want maybe use shorter field house for a pre-holiday and passing some kind of virtual gift baskets out. But that being said, they're going to go forward with the.
I don't understand a word you're saying. I'm sorry, Danielle.
There's backfeed somewhere.
Maybe if others could put their phones on and their iPads.
I muted mine.
Or power down the volume.
Can you hear me now? Is that better? Is that better, Doug?
No, I'm sorry. It's just all like a backfeed and.
I think Councilman Barrett needs to mute. He's unmuted currently.
Can you?
I am muted.
Well, I can still hear you. Can you still hear Bob?
Now. Oh, now he's on.
It's not only important that the other people around you are muted, it's important that their volume is off.
So maybe if we turn the volume down.
I can hear you, Danielle.
You're good now. Bob's muted.
Is that better, Doug?
Not really. There's an echo and like everything you're saying is like double speak. So.
Is there somebody in the room with Doug?
No, I'm alone.
Okay. Because that would make a difference, that's all.
I'm alone and I learned how to use this Zoom thing. So.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Is that better, Doug?
Well, I can still, at least with mine, you know, so it's double speak, but start over, please.
Me, Daniel. You're clear as a bell.
Okay, how about now? All right.
Okay,
well,
go ahead.
I'll do the best I can. They're going to go forward with the ice skating rink. They are going to add some garbage bins around the tennis courts. And they want to go forward with the master plan of, you know, and look into the cost for the pickleball, as well as a possible walking path around the remainder of the park in compliance with the master plan.
Are there any questions for Danielle? If not, thanks, Danielle. Good report. Our next item's Communication Committee. Our chairperson's present. Ted?
Good evening, distinguished mayor and council. Can you hear me just fine?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Pleasure to join you this evening. So what I want to do is update the communication survey that went out on Friday, August 28th to 984 residents on a monthly email list that the city manages. The list is about a third of Grosse Pointe Shores, about 3,000 residents living here, and 984 represents about one of every. The survey closed 1 week later on September 4th with no additional reminders needed because of a phenomenal survey response rate. Our goal was 10% participation, and 559 residents of the 984 filled out the survey, which is 56%, which is phenomenal to have that kind of participation rate, which is more than 5 times our survey goal. Among the key demographics, majority of participants identified are between 40 and 40 years old. There, that's about 10%. Most 263 who identified are white, 35%. And slightly more women than men who identified participated, 52 to 47%. All right, so the 7-question survey was short and got us a lot of great intel and information. And so the first communication question came up. It was, how well informed do you feel about Grosse Pointe Shores news and updates? And you were asked to check 1. And so the given responses were extremely informed, very informed, informed, somewhat informed, or not very informed. This is where we saw our problem. So more than half feel they're not very informed. Someone not on mute? I keep hearing some feedback. Is everyone on mute?
Yeah, but somebody's got a dog barking back there and I can't hear you very well, Ted.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Somebody else.
Yeah, I don't know.
Mayor Ted, do you want to put?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. There's a notes here. It says Bob. All right, there you go. It looks like we got it settled there.
It's right down here.
By sharing the survey with just the newsletter email distribution list, we're sort of skewing the results a little bit. It's fine to do that. The issue is we saved a lot of money, so there was no cost in mailing a survey to 3,000 residents, but these are the people that we regularly communicate with. So the results should have been a little higher, a little better, but 51.7% feel they are not very informed or somewhat informed. Only 7.2% feel extremely informed. So given that we're really asking those who we regularly communicate with what their thoughts are, this is a surprising number to be so high that so many people don't feel like they're informed or somewhat informed. But that's a good thing, because now we know what to work with and we can address that in our communication plan.
But Ted, can I ask you a question? You're only like contacting 50% of the people that you have email addresses for.
No, so we contacted everyone we had email addresses for. There was 984 people that received the survey. 559 responded. Our goal was 10%, which would have been about 98 people. But 559 people responded, which is a phenomenal number. But of those people that responded, about 50% said they don't feel informed, not very informed, or somewhat informed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you're only getting to how many, what's the percentage of the whole city you're getting a hold of?
Sure. It's about 1/3, so we have about 3,000.
1/3. 1/3 of all the residents, that's all you're getting a hold of? And you can make results on that?
Let me go through the survey and maybe we can make some heads or tail of that. How about? So from that, we have another question, which is, what is your preferred way of receiving Grosse Pointe Shores news and updates? And not surprising, email was #1 at 57.4%. Is the most preferred way to receive news and updates, followed by the web, which was at 31.5%. There were several comments about the website that needs improving. There were at least 10 that talked about, had suggestions, which are great, and those will be included in the communication plan. Surprisingly or not surprisingly, social media was preferred just by 3.2% of the participants, which kind of indicates the age of the people that took the survey. All right, so the next question was an open-ended question. What ways can Grosse Pointe Shores improve communicating to its residents? We had, of the 559 people who took the survey, 207 commented on this one. And so what I did is, in the communication survey results analysis that I submitted to you, I broke it down by category. So I went through all the responses and then labeled them by different groups. So the first group is email/email newsletter, 53 comments about the newsletter. So a lot of comments about expanding it to every 2 weeks instead of a month, including council meeting minutes and resolutions in the newsletter, emailing council meeting agendas in advance in the newsletter, emailing a monthly summary of key meeting minutes. So residents are clearly passionate and they want to know a lot more about the city and the city business. Through 559 responses, there's a lot of passionate, excited, interested people here in Grosse Pointe Shores, which is great. These are great numbers. So they have a lot of thoughts. Another suggestion was to use MailChimp for the distribution of the email. Be more concise, sort of drop the garish graphics in quotes, briefer emails, less links. So there's a lot of things in here that I won't read them all, but there was a lot of comments and suggestions which really are helpful. The next major category is improve the website, which had 11 comments. Updating the website more often, add real-time capability, add the council packet online, make it easier to use, add more tools. These are all things that people suggested, which were all great suggestions, and we should be considering doing. The next category was transparency. There was 8 of them. And then you can see on your list, there's a lot of other groupings of comments, and they go 4, 3, 2, 1, where you have one response to a group of comments. So lots of different thoughts all over on different topics. For this plan and in this results, I removed all the personal attacks, the political messages, anything like that was removed. So I'm just giving you the recommendations for communication improvement in this plan. All right, so the next one was a closed question, which is, which do you believe are most important to attracting new residents? So what this got at is, how do we attract new residents to the city of Grosse Pointe Shores? And how do we communicate with them? And so it's clear, Grosse Pointe Shores residents believe beautiful, woke-up neighborhoods at 51.2%, OCS Park, which is beautiful too, 45.8%, and professional public safety, of course, our wonderful public safety officers, 33.8%, are the most important selling points for the city. So when we go out to sell the city, whether it's on Facebook or other social media or the web, or if we're going to do a brochure, or we're going to talk with our real estate agents, or however we're going to communicate with others about attracting new residents, those are the main selling, those are the things that we should be focused in on, which is great information. Also important are schools at 24%, obviously living near Lake St. Clair, and 23.8% with the harbor bringing in $40,000 more. That's great news. And high value homes at 21.5%. Those are all important selling points according to our residents. Then the last question was an open-ended additional comments, 196 responses. Residents had a lot to say about Grosse Pointe Shores. Schools, city governance, OCS Park, public safety, dogs, and other current topics. Again, we disregard personal attacks, political statements, and personal agendas to focus on grouping comments by similar themes or suggestions for your ease of viewing. So the number one comment or grouping of comments was on OCS Park. We had 22 separate comments about OCS Park. A lot of them had to do with the guardhouse, goose poop, dogs abandoned the park, reserving the parking spot that is reserved, parking, park dead space, a lot of around parking and dogs. The next one was on city council, city leadership, city employees. That's 18 comments. Public safety, police safety of our neighborhoods was 13, and schools was next at 10. So there were a lot of different comments regarding all those different areas. Those groupings were the most comments. And then as you go down the list, you'll see there's just a whole lot of comments on a lot of different subjects. And there's a lot of recommendations and suggestions for improvement. I do recommend for the council and the mayor, if you have not already reviewed the survey results, to look at all the comments and see what you can pick out to help the city. Residents have spoken, the village has spoken, and they have a lot of things to say, and a lot of them are very helpful. The next step for all of this information is to for us to handle one-on-one phone interviews with selected residents. I've been approved, thanks to Danielle, for a list of people to interview one-on-one to do deeper dives and talk at great length about these issues, as well as how to improve communications in the city. So between the survey and the one-on-one interviews, the process continues with a communication plan. The communication plan has already been started. We're about 15 pages in right now, which is great, making great progress. We'll add in the interviews and keep expanding it. And then eventually get to a draft plan, which I will submit to Danielle and Tom for their thoughts. And when they're comfortable with it, we'll plan to share it with the full council and the mayor, and for your review and additional thoughts. So that's the process. We're making great progress. The survey was wonderful. Lots of great information. Told us things that we know about the city, told us things that we don't know about the city. Really appreciate the 559 residents that took the survey. And if you're in this Zoom call and you took it and you participated, thank you very much. We really appreciate your great feedback. And that's
Ed, this is Doug. How many residents do we have in Grosse Pointe Shores?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. We have 3,000 residents.
Okay, so you got 500 replies.
No. So we have 559 replies.
559 replies out of 3,000.
Out of 984. So be careful here, because you have to be careful.
You have to be careful.
Well, because the numbers are important. We didn't have a budget for the survey, so we.
Oh, of course. That's why I asked you what your budget was. That's why I asked you, and you guys are doing it for free.
Doug,
great.
you're being rude. Please don't interrupt and let him answer you.
All right, go ahead.
I don't mind. So the survey went out to about 1,000 people, which is a lot. That's a lot of people to get good information. So
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the number. The survey went out to how many people?
Again, 984. The same.
And we have about 1,100 homes.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Well, but he said people, not homes, Ted.
Okay, but
Usually 2 to 3 people in a home, Doug.
Yeah, right. So it went
So
up to
2 people
1/3.
may have 1 email that they share, and they, a
Or
spouse
they
may
may
say,
have, or they may have 3 emails, like I do.
Doug, if you received an email or your wife did, would you share about a survey would you actually talk to each other about that? Or are you not going to share that with your spouse?
Well, I just, looking at a lot of the responses, it seemed like, you know, you had the little Trump things on there and everything, that people answered it more than once. So how'd you figure that out?
Well, you know what? My thought is I'm not going to insinuate that my friends and neighbors are going to be committing a fraud and falsely or multiple responses.
I didn't insinuate that. I didn't insinuate that.
Well, I mean, what would the other reason be if somebody was doing it multiple times? I mean,
Well, how can you determine from that survey that people didn't answer more than once?
you can't, but I am going to go, maybe I'm naive and I think the best of people, Doug. People that genuinely care and want to improve the communications for the city. That's
Okay.
what this was all about.
Can
This was not
can I say
supposed to be
something,
looking
please?
for a tax.
If
Yeah,
it's all right,
go ahead.
I'd like to make a comment, please. I think that ultimately the goal is here to get information. Turn on your volume, please. From other residents, and ultimately, I think we'll be able to do a citywide survey. I hope that we can get more email addresses so that we can reach more people. And, you know, I think this was a great first step. And to hear from basically, you know, almost 600 people in the community, I don't know the times in the 3 years I've been around that we've had an outreach that big. And I think that the information that we were able to glean looks like we had to do a better job communicating. And I know that ultimately we want to add people to this committee. Anybody out there in Zoom land that is interested in participating and being part of this committee, you can contact Ted or Danielle. I'd like to see this flourish. I'd like to see our website improve. I'd like to see us get a huge email list. I'd like us to be able to start responding to people electronically so that we don't have a big cost involved in it. And, you know, my hat's off to you, Ted, for at least, you know, making this first attempt. And it looks like it was, you know, received very well to get almost 56% of the sampling group to respond. That's, you know, 10% would be a success. And to be in those kind of numbers shows that we've got a lot of people in our community that want to know what's going on and be involved in it. So that's all positive. So I think we should just try and look at the glass as half full. I know it wasn't a perfect survey in many ways, but I think in another way it was a very, you know, promising attempt this first time to get people to engage. And I think that it's encouraging. So let's try to, you know, be optimistic.
Ted, I'd just like to ask you again, if I could. You're a PR guy, and I know you, Ted, and you know we've talked before and everything like that. And I'm not trying to demean you or anything like that. Nothing. But I just have a problem. I remember doing surveys when I was doing my master's degree and stuff like that, and it was a very serious thing. And if I would have brought those results in for my master's degree, they would have thrown me out, man. I would never have even got it. So, you know, do you consider that a real scientific survey?
Well, let me address your question. The most important part of the survey was the comments that we got, which led us to a lot of recommendations on improving things to help us communicate better overall. So there were 4 basic categories of comments. There was email newsletters, there was website, social media, and other forms of communication like signage and other ways. And so within those groupings, there are a lot of suggestions and recommendations on how to improve those communications. And so by that, it's worth its weight in gold. I mean, you can talk all you want about scientific survey, and you can talk all you want about whether or not this is statistically valid. But my goal with the survey was to collect a lot of great information about how to improve communication. And we did just that. So we have lots of great results. The communication plan is the ultimate goal of the survey. So the survey is doing a great job of feeding into the communication plan, which is coming along very nicely. We'll add to that to the one-on-one interviews, and then we'll pull all that together and put together one heck of a communication plan. I think the communication plan will be a role model for other communities to look at and model for their communities. That's how good I think this is turning out so far in terms of the intelligence that we gathered, the comments, the suggestions. We know what to fix and we know how to fix it thanks to the residents of this community. So we look forward to the one-on-one interviews and getting more intelligence, deeper dives into the areas that we've been talking about. And I think this is going to be one heck of a communication plan. So yes, the survey did exactly what we needed to do. We have a lot of great information that's going to feed into a wonderful plan. You can read the plan, decide for yourself whether you think it did its job. As someone with over 35 years of marketing experience, I'm very secure and comfortable knowing that this plan is coming together and that we have the information that we needed to develop a solid communication plan that will serve the city for many years to come.
Ed, I don't doubt your credentials. Good luck.
Thank you.
Don Schroeder, just chiming in for a moment. I have a little experience with surveys scientifically. I'm on the editorial board of the American Journal of Surgery. I was involved with the survey committee for the American College of Surgeons. And truly, a scientific survey is one that can accomplish between a 30 to 40% response rate, which this survey did. So scientifically, it is valid.
Thank you, Don.
So I'd have one more comment. Thank you, Ted. I just respected you. You've just been awesome. I love your enthusiasm. I've been approached by 3 additional residents that would like to come on board with the communications committee. So we are going to put our heads together, Ted and myself, and Tom, on a day, a mutual good day, on a Wednesday, ideally in the next probably 3 weeks. And the people that have reached out to me, I will offer them that time because again, I'm just so excited that some people from the community are getting excited, want to be on board.
Thanks, Danielle. And just one more thing. If we're looking for a place to spend that extra $40,000 from the harbor revenue, the communication committee could certainly use some of that money as we put together the plan in investing in communications to improve and strengthen some of the areas that we talked about. So let's keep that in mind as we move forward. Thank you.
You're a sweet talker, Ted.
Ted Kaczynski, you're on mute. There you go.
Okay, Brian, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Since the date of the last city council meeting held on August 2020, can you all hear me okay? Yeah, just shake your head. Okay, the city attorney's been engaged in the following activities on behalf of the city. We consulted with the city regarding the city ZBA's approval of a Lakeshore Road property variance request. We reviewed the Code of Ordinances and the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act provisions regarding the variance request and provided advice to the city. We also advised the city regarding resumption of public city council meetings versus Zoom meetings. The bottom line on that is there's more of us here than would be allowed, which is 10, under current state of Michigan executive orders to have a public city council meeting, no matter how we tried to dice it up or make it work. So here we are on Zoom. I will say this, there's a lot of us, including me, that are somewhat or maybe extremely technically challenged, and there's some people that are technically savvy. And hopefully by next month, we'll have the echo bugs worked out before the complaints come in. We'll have the echo bugs worked out. I think when Ted Katulish was on just now, everybody had done something right. enabling us to hear what he had to say without, continued echoes or other background noises. So it'll improve. We finalized and forwarded I mentioned the document subpoena request of the city last month about a request received from the Great Lakes Water Authority. There's a piece of unrelated litigation that had to do with commercial disposal rates, waste disposal rates paid by certain property owners within the city. We responded to that, forwarded that information to Counsel for the Water Authority. We probably won't hear anything more about it. We consulted with the city regarding the communication survey, the initial results, and what you've heard about tonight in turn. We also advised the city regarding background investigations for potential city employment applicants. We reviewed the Open Meetings Act requirements associated with discussions of those background results, whether those should be public or in closed session. We prepared at the city's request a revised letter of agreement for the employment of a mechanic that was hired by the Department of Public Works. More recently, we reviewed a lot split request filed by the owner of a property on Weber Place. We reviewed applicable city ordinances and state statutes. We consulted with the city manager, and we reviewed the preliminary report issued by the city planner. That matter is not yet before the Planning Commission. It may be. That's a work in process. We also reviewed and prepared a preliminary response to another Freedom of Information Act request that was received within the last week. It's a request for certain city employee information. Our preparation of that response is in process, and the response is due in about a week, a few days more than a week, maybe 10 days. We also reviewed the soil test results and related materials forwarded by the city engineer regarding the seawall study, the results of the tests and current status, and that's more for informational purposes than anything else. Councilman Seeley has given you a fair amount of information tonight with respect to the status of that. And then finally, we did a little more analysis. If you remember last month, we talked about a no anchor zone in St. Clair or in the Lake St. Clair in areas that are adjacent to Grosse Pointe Shores shoreline. We did a little bit more review of law enforcement jurisdiction over certain areas that are within the lake. We reached some conclusions. I'm not quite ready to talk about them in detail, other than to tell you that we looked at it and have some thoughts on it. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Presumably you just heard me.
Oh, okay. Are there any questions of Brian? Good report, Brian.
Thanks.
Tom's report? Andrew's report?
How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to our first city council meeting on Zoom. I think it's going very well. Just wanted to go over a few things. First off, I'd like to thank Jennifer Sarah and her entire pool staff for pulling off a great season in the pool. And we had some ups and downs. We had a couple closings due to COVID, but I think in the end it was very successful. We're also awaiting from HRC an engineer's estimate for the Grosse Pointe Shores Improvement Foundation for future projects at the park, to include a walking path around the park, along with pickleball courts, and possibly a smaller pavilion at the northeast corner of the park as well. I'd like to welcome Mike Way. He's well-deserved young man, and I think he's going to do a great job for the city. And also, I'm concerning communications with Danielle and Ted. I did have a conversation with a gentleman from Revise Websites. He's going to provide us with a cost for an upgraded website. Seemed pretty reasonable on the phone, and I also met him on Zoom as well, and he showed me basically all the modern things that their websites do that ours doesn't. Some of them are actually required now by law. he said that he'd be in touch with me shortly to give me a price quote on possibly redoing and upgrading our website to a more modern feel. We also have an election coming in November that we're currently pulling our hair out trying to get ready for. I think everything's going well. We should have our ballots delivered here by the end of the week or the beginning of next week. And we will be sending out all our absentee ballots as soon as they land here out to our voters. And we will see you at election time in November. That's about all I have, Mr. Mayor. Does anybody have any questions?
Are you in need of workers to help with the election, particularly with absentee ballots, or no?
Actually, we've had a few residents reach out to us recently that have want to work the election. So I think we're good right now. You know, I don't really want to expose any more workers than I have to COVID for the in-person voting. But I think, you know, we have our sneeze shields up and everybody's masked. And we're doing our best to keep everything disinfected after each voter comes through. So I don't want to overwork everybody, but I don't want to have more bodies than I need. So I think we're all set for workers for this November. It's going to be a long day and a big election. So
Thank you, Tom. Are there any questions from council?
I have one question. Tom, do you have additional quotes for the website, or do you only contract him?
Well, about 4 years ago, we upgraded our website through our IT company. When we reached out to other vendors, their pricing was off the charts. I mean, some of them were between 20 and 40,000 to redo the website, to give it a more modern feel, to do this, to do that. And then there was also a sometimes $5,000 maintenance fee annual, just to, you know, make sure everything was, you know, up to date and everything. And it just seemed ridiculous. So we worked together with our IT company to come up with the website we have currently. And that was like 4 years ago. And, you know, at that time it had a pretty modern feel, but now as time goes by, websites become more modern, and you know, the users want more and more and more, make it easier to do this, make it easier to do that. And I agree. I mean, yeah, it's 4 or 5 years old now, and it probably needs a look at. So at that time, I think it was about $5,000 or $6,000 we paid to our IT provider to help us, myself and Lori Duncan, design what you see today.
All right, thank you, Tom.
Yep.
Under new business, under A, approve the DPW director contract. Has everyone had a chance to review the contract?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I have had a chance to review it, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to move that we ratify the employment agreement between the Village of Grosse Pointe Shores and Michael Wade for the position of Director of Public Works as presented by the city manager.
Is there a second?
Segal seconds.
Okay. At this point, all those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, it was unanimous, 7-0. The second item is.
Congratulations, Mike.
Yeah,
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you all.
The next item is the garbage truck purchase documentation. I think that was delivered later today.
I would like to make a motion. I move to postpone the decision to purchase a new garbage truck until the new finance officer and the finance committee has had a chance to evaluate different options that are on the table, as well as review the budget.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of tabling the garbage truck purchase, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, 7-0. The next item is the finance director treasurer discussion. At this point, I think we had 2 finalists Sandra, you're chair of the finance committee.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to move to extend a conditional offer of employment to Kathy Hall to serve as the finance director of the city, subject to her successfully completing the background investigation, drug screening, and medical evaluation, and subject to her reaching a final agreement on the terms and conditions of employment that are approved by city council.
Second.
Must be sitting next to you.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, well, say that again because you were all in a can for me.
Okay, I'll repeat it.
You turn down your
Hold on.
That's what I've been-
Okay, I move to extend a conditional offer of employment to Kathy Hall to serve as the finance director of the city, subject to her successfully completing the background investigation, drug screening, and medical evaluation, and subject to her reaching a final agreement on the terms and conditions of employment that are approved by city council.
And who is this person?
Kathy Hall was the lady that we interviewed, and
But she was never, when,
liked the fact that she wanted to work full-time. We interviewed two candidates that day. One was for a part-time position, and Kathy Hall was for a full-time position.
and, but her name wasn't brought up at the last finance meeting that I remember.
I wasn't there, so I'm not sure.
He wasn't.
No, okay. All right, go ahead and vote. I'll vote against it. I don't know who you're talking about.
Doug?
Let's take a vote.
Hey, Doug, she wasn't.
I just wanted to say something, Doug. Right before when she came, you liked her, and we all agreed that she was the best candidate. Because she wanted to have full-time, she was a CPA, and, well, you know, regardless. Just wanted to remind you.
Okay, the motion was made, it was seconded, and we had a vote. Doug, you voted against it?
Yeah, I'll vote against it.
Okay, so 6-1. All right, the next item is 31 Colonial Road, construction update. We have the homeowner present.
Yes.
Yeah. Robert Itzkoff, I live at 31. Good evening, everyone.
Can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Good evening.
You can hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert and my wife Lisa are here. I'd like to say hello to the mayor, the member of the city council, city attorney, Renard, and the administration, along with the rest of the Grosse Pointe community that might be listening. I'm a resident of 31 Colonial Road in Grosse Pointe Shores. I'm here tonight to talk about the garage addition that I'm building on my home and ask the city council for a reasonable extension on my building permit for this addition. I have made substantial and considerable progress over the past year constructing this addition. I'm asking you to consider granting me a reasonable 6-month extension so that I can comply with the city's building codes on time and have it to finish this construction project, which I think we can all agree that's basically what everyone wants me to do. First, I'd like to talk to you about why I should be granted this reasonable extension. Then I will talk about my detailed plan to finish the exterior of the garage if granted the 6-month extension. The first reason I believe I should be granted a reasonable extension is that my progress in the past year shows that I can accomplish a lot in a relatively short amount of time. And this, despite facing multiple obstacles to completion. As you might have seen in your inbox, I sent everyone a copy of what is a rough estimate timeline of the work that I have been able to accomplish on this project this past year. And feel free to reference the timeline for any more of a complete look at all the steps that have been involved in constructing this addition. I'm not going to point out, not going to go point to point. I'm trying to save some time for everybody. I know it's getting late.
Robert, can I interrupt you, Robert?
Yes.
Do you feel you can be completed with the project in 6 months?
Yes.
Okay, just a second. Tom, do you feel that's reasonable?
Yeah, considering COVID and everything and you know, everything getting pushed back 3 to 4 months, I don't think that's unreasonable, but I'd have to have a drop dead date in 6 months. And you'd have to pay the extension fee, obviously.
All that being said, I'd like to make a motion that we grant the 6-month extension.
I second it.
Can we speak?
What is the date, though?
Can we speak?
What is?
There's a second motion on the table. Only voting members can discuss it.
It was seconded. Any discussion among council?
Yeah, what is the date going to be?
It would be in February.
February? Let's put a date in the motion.
March. So keep it up till March 31st.
We started it 2 years ago.
Say March 31st?
Started September of 2018. It's been 2 years.
Okay, can we take a vote?
We have a, it looks like Quinny 09 is addressing council regarding this matter. She's a resident across the street, I believe.
Can we enter into the discussion, even though there's right now a pending motion?
Is there no?
Ultimately, what I'd like to say is that I think it's in everybody's best interest to get this project completed. And I think that the resident is well aware of the fact that this has been going on for a long time. And he has made a commitment to be done and given his word that it'll happen by March 31st. And I think that the best interest is to grant that extension and hope that the work gets done.
This isn't a public hearing, like a variance or special land use variance, but well, at this point, let's take a vote. Mute everyone.
There you go.
Oh, okay. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
At this point, a motion was made, it was seconded. We had some council discussion. All those in favor of granting a 6-month extension, which would take it to March 2021, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, it passes.
Just make sure the date's in there.
Okay,
31st.
Yes, we certainly will.
we'll put that in there. Okay, good luck finishing the project. Thank you for.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, the next item is public comment on non-agenda items or.
I'd like to make a comment, Mr. Mayor, if I could. Harry Kurtz.
Okay, Harry.
I
Please
got
make-
three. I'm sorry. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine. We're getting more feedback here.
I've got just 3 quick points. First, I'd like to welcome and congratulate Mr. Wayne, Ms. Hall. I'd also like to, in addition to acknowledgement that the retiree healthcare cuts were apparently mishandled from the start, a statement was also made, I believe, by Councilmember Seeley that Grosse Pointe Shores is the highest taxed city in Michigan. And I'm just wondering if that statement's accurate and what is it based on? And then the other quick thing I'd like to bring up is I'd like to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for calling me personally to apologize for the disparaging attacks that were posted on the survey. Unfortunately, the decision to allow those multiple personal attacks and comments to be posted like that cast a dark shadow, unfortunately, over the credibility of the whole survey, in my opinion. And I would like to respectfully request that you, Mr. Mayor, would consider extending that apology tonight, because it was important to me, and I think it'll be important to the other residents, current and former employees, and elected officials that were caught up in this unfortunate activity. So those are the two items of interest that I'd like to see if you could address for us at all.
Harry, I called you, that's true, and I said that we need to be civil and respectful to one another. Any comments that weren't civil or respectful don't reflect well on our community. And so, and I reiterate that today. I mean, this, again, we tried to do something to get an idea. We saw a very passionate community respond, maybe with some comments that should not have been made. And that's what I called you on when you forwarded me an email and told me about the comments. So again, this is a very respectful and civil community, and I want to keep it that way. Thank you, Harry. Any other public comment? Is there any other public comment? I don't see any public comment.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have one.
Okay.
Brett Smith here. This is my first opportunity to speak to you as a retiree. Let me start by saying you're in good hands with Michael Way, and I'd like to offer him a congratulations. I'm sure he will make you proud, and he has already made me proud. Moving on, I'd like to mention that several months ago, Council decided to make the retirees pay for a portion of their health care premium. Obviously, this was a choice to renege on labor contracts that affects your retirees. And let me remind you, there's no discussion to inform them or the bargaining units for that matter. And I think it's the opinion of most, maybe not just of council, but most of the residents of Grosse Pointe Shores that this is a mistake. And I can say to you that during my 33.5 years of employment, it was policy that when I made a mistake, and I sure did make a few mistakes in my 33 years, that it was policy to make every effort to make the wrongs, make them right. And I would ask council to do the same. I would ask them to reverse the decision that put an unjust burden on its retirees. Keep in mind, your retirees do not have the option to renege on their promises. They've already fulfilled their obligation to Grosse Pointe Shores, and they've served the residents of Grosse Pointe Shores their entire careers. So I would
Brett, you went mute.
Yeah, I don't hear anything. Brett, you're not on my screen.
There, how's that?
That's better.
Okay, and okay, my computer's telling me I'm muted, but I'm not. Okay. Anyway, should I start from scratch?
No, well, I forgot where we left off.
that you would like to.
Okay, well, I don't know how that happened, but either way, the employees do not have an opportunity to renege on their promises. They've already fulfilled their obligations, and the residents of Grosse Pointe Shores have already been served with their entire career. I will make a mention, I don't see Councilman Seago with us this evening, but last council meeting, he mentioned that, the fact that he stands for his Catholic Church, the national anthem, the Pledge of Allegiance, and he stands for a lady when they get up from a table. Well, let me challenge council and Councilman Seago to try something new. Why don't you stand for that? Why don't you stand for honesty? Maybe stand for integrity and truth and honor. And I think this will put the council in a much better standing with your constituents, the voters, your families, and the employees you deal with. And also, Councilman Seeley, I know last month you tried clarifying some things regarding the healthcare. And I'm sure you've been made aware that there are some things in there that are incorrect. But what really bothered me during that statement is there was no opportunity for anybody to rebut the statements that was made. So possibly in the future, you might offer the opportunity to people to speak after council's reports. I think if that was done, things might have gotten clarified a little bit better. And also, Mr. Mayor, I think you mentioned, I don't know if it was in the paper or at the meeting last time, that you were facing a 300,000 plus budget shortfall. I'd like to take the opportunity to remind you that you voted on a balanced budget that was submitted to you before you took this retiree healthcare action. So once again, I just want to let you know that this retiree healthcare issue is not going to go away. So once again, I would respectfully request that council would reverse that decision and make good on their promises that you've given to your retirees and employees. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Any more public comment? Hearing no other public comment, I ask for council comment. Mayor Pro Tem Bob Barrett, do you have any comments? Bob, are you here? I don't see you.
I'll unmute him.
Did we lose Bob?
Go ahead, Bob.
He's on mute.
Oh.
There you go, Bob.
All right, right there. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have anything, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Council Sandra Cavatile, do you have any comments?
No comments.
Councilperson Danielle, any comments?
I'd like to again thank Ted Katulish for his presentation. The other thing is, I'd like to thank Jen Sarah for her hard work, and actually Tom as well, again, on keeping that pool open under very stressful circumstances. And the doggy days, although it was a soggy, cold day, was still a lot of fun. And I appreciate it on this past, 2 Tuesdays ago. Thank you for letting me serve the citizens of Grosse Pointe Shores. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you, Danielle. Councilperson Doug?
Nope.
Okay, Councilperson John Siegel?
I'd like to thank all people who contributed to public comment tonight. And also I'd like to welcome Mike Way to your new position. I'm sure that you will do very well.
Thank you, John. Councilperson Matt Seeley?
I'd like to thank Jen Sarah for doing an exemplary job this summer. It was not an easy job. I'd like to thank Tom too for all the support the park and the staff got. I'd like to thank Tim Jenkins for the great job he did with the Rangers and the chief for his support. The park was a real challenge with this pandemic, and I was really happy to see that we did everything we could to have a pool open and offer the amenities that we normally do every year. And I'd also like to thank Ted Katulish and Danielle for their efforts. I think it's really critical that we improve our communication with our residents. And I'm glad that they're doing what they're doing, that there are more people coming forward that are interested in being part of the process. I encourage all residents that if they've got an area that they're interested in, that they volunteer. You know, it's a lot of extra time, but at the same time, it feels good to be part of the process. So I want to thank everyone for their public comment, and I hope that everybody has a good September, and hopefully we'll see you at Blue Fest.
Thank you, Matt, for those comments. I just have a few comments. This is our first Zoom council meeting, and it looks like for the near term, it's going to continue. I've been working with our city attorney, Brian Renaud, and he's been advising me that, I mean, this is really the only thing we can really, the only way we can really handle our council meetings. So, you know, we had a few bugs. We'll get better at this, and hopefully the next meeting will go without so much sound reverberating and glitches. So second is, I'd like to, again, congratulate Mike Way. Well-deserved. I thank Brett Smith for mentoring him for the last few years. It takes time, and I appreciate what Brett did to bring him to the point where he could be, we could vote on him as our Director of Public Works. And he's got some very good, innovative ideas with a great background. So Mike, again, congratulations and welcome aboard as our Director of Public Works. We're going to have appointments at the end of the year. We're always looking for volunteers. I want to thank Ellen Crease, who's only lived here 3 years, and she's already volunteered for the Beautification Committee. And so thank you, Ellen. We need more volunteers. I mean, as everyone knows, we're all volunteers, and we choose to be volunteers to make this a better and safer city for our families. So thank you, Ellen, for your spirit of volunteerism. Even after just 3 short years here, you realize the value that the volunteers add to the community. And that's what builds on this community as just a very respectable community, maybe the most respectable really one in Michigan. At this point, I look for a motion to adjourn. Our next council meeting is October 20th via Zoom, the same procedure that we employed today. I need a motion to approve our next meeting. Is there a motion? To adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank everyone again. We'll get better at this for the next meetings. Thank you everyone for participating. Thank you very much. Bye.